So today, I, Gayatri Nimawat, and Nirali Dabi, Gopi Derwalia, Kancham Kataria, we four are going to deal with. um, we four are going to give an introductory presentation on the only story written by Julian Barnes. These are the points that we will going to deal. First, key facts, then context about author and about text, then character study, then plot overview, then major themes, research articles, a learning outcome, and references. These are the key facts. The author is Julian Barnes. Type of work is a novel. This is memory novel. It is written in English language. It was published in 1st February 2018. Publisher is Jonathan Cape. Setting stockbroker belt outside London in 1960s. Narrator Paul Roberts. There are three parts in this novel, and 213 pages are there in this novel. About Julian Barnes, he is also known as Julian Patrick Barnes, Edward Peach, and Dan Kavanagh. He was born in January 1946 in Leicester, England. His occupation is a writer. He is writing in genres like novels, short stories, and essays. His literary movement is postmodernism. His wife name was Pat Kavanagh, and his notable works are Elizabeth Finch, The Sense of an Ending, The Only Story, The Man in the Red Coat, The Noise of Time, Keeping an Eye Open, and Levels of Life. And there are many other works also of his. Julian Barnes was born in Leicester, England on January 1946. He was educated at the City of London School from 1957 to 1964 and at Magdalen College, Oxford, from which he graduated in modern language with honors in 1968. After graduation, he worked as a lexicographer for the Oxford English Dictionary supplement for 3 years in 1977. Barnes began working as a reviewer and literary editor for the New Statesman and the New Reviews. From 1979 and 1986, he worked as a television critic, first for the New Statesman and then for the Observer. Barnes now lives in London. Julian Barnes has written numerous novels, short stories, and essays. He has also translated a book by French author Alphonse Daudet and a collection of German cartoons by Volker Kriegel. His writing has earned him considerable respect as an author who deals with the themes of history, reality, truth, and love. He has received many awards, bans, and honors for his writing. Most recently, the David Cohen Prize for Literature in 2019, the 2011 Megan Booker Prize, the 2021 Jerusalem Prize, and the 2021 Yasnaya Poliana Literary Award. Also in 2021, he was awarded the Bernard Prize, so named in memory of the great specialist in hematology who was a member of the French Academy and chaired the Academy of Medicine. Three additional novels were shortlisted for the main Booker Prize. These three are the novel. Then he also received many awards like Somerset Maugham Award, Mom Award, Geoffrey Faber Memorial Prize, Prix Medicis, E.M. Foster Award, Gutenberg Prize, Gringen Caver Prize, and Prix Femina. The novel, about the context of the novel unfolds in the early 1960s, a period of immense social and cultural change in Britain. The post-war era brought a sense of liberation and challenged traditional value, including those around marriage and relationships. The sexual revolution was in full swing, with free love and experimentation becoming more common. This backdrop significantly impacts the societal response to Paul and Susan's unconventional relationship. Age gap relationships, especially ones with a significant power imbalance like Paul and Susan's, were frowned upon in the conversation social milieu of the time. Susan's married status and the presence of children add another layer of complexity and stigma to their relationship, prompting social disapproval and raising questions about morality and responsibility. Barnes often draws inspiration from classical authors and philosophical ideas. The novel explored the nature of memory, perception, and storytelling, questioning the objective truth of a single narrative. In from the learning of this novel, we have learned so many things, and I have written here a few learning outcomes from that. First is by learning about the author's life, one can decode their work in a fresh ways. As we want to learn the novel or the any text, first we have to delve into the life of the author or about him or her. Then analyze the author's language, choice, and voice, and how they contribute to the overall atmosphere and meaning of the story. And from the novel, analyze the societal reaction to Paul and Susan's romance and reflect on how such relationships were perceived in the 1916. These are the outcomes of the novel by me. Then I want to invite my co-presenter for character study.
Hello everyone, I am Gopi Derwalia, and in this presentation I am dealing with the characters of the novel The Only Story by Julian Barnes. Okay, so these are some main characters: Paul Roberts, Susan MacLeod, Gordon MacLeod, Martha MacLeod, Clara MacLeod, John, Eric, and Anna. So here I have tried to put some animated images of the characters. Okay, through this character chart, we will try to understand how these all characters are connected with each other. So Paul Roberts is a male protagonist of the novel, and when he tells the story, he is 69 to 70 years old, and when he tells the story of his youthful days, at that time he is 19-year-old boy. And other female character protagonist of the novel is Susan MacLeod. So Susan MacLeod is a tennis player, and when Paul Roberts fall in love with Susan, at that time she was 48-year-old. Then Golden is Susan's husband, and they have two daughters, Martha and Clara. Then John is Susan's former tennis player, and also best friend of Susan. And then Eric. So Eric is a university friend of Paul, and Anna, later girlfriend of Paul Roberts. Okay, so these are some minor characters of the novel. Mrs. Dyer, maid of Susan's, Jack, father of Gordon, Cindy, Paul's ex, Uncle Hamp, and Aunt Florence, Susan's aunt and uncle, and then Dr. Kenny, Susan's psychiatrist. Okay, so Paul Robert. First, we deal with Paul character of Paul Roberts. So he is the narrator, and in this novel, The Only Story, Paul Robert is not just a character, but he is the lens through which we experience the whole story. So Paul tells us his own story, reflecting back on his life from the vantage point of an older man. This means his perspective is subjective, shaped by time, regret, and his own desires. We never hear from other characters directly, which makes his interpretation of events both unreliable and fascinating. Then a man defined by youthful passion. So the narrative revolves around Paul's intense affair with Susan, a woman considerably older than him, then flawed but relatable. So while Paul makes choices that are questionable and even hurtful, this vulnerability makes him a relatable character, allowing us to sympathize with his struggle and understand the complex choices he faces. Then a symbol of memory and time. So through Paul's narration, Barnes explores the subjectivity of memory and the way our past shapes our present. Then a symbol of memory and time. Uh, so. Uh, uh, Ultimately, Paul's story is one of self discovery, and he navigates love, loss, guilt, and unfulfilled potential, grappling with who he is and who he wants to do. Then other main character, Susan McLeod. She is a woman unborn by convention. So Susan, trapped in a loveless marriage with a domineering husband, she yearns for intellectual and emotional fulfillment. Her affair with Paul, despite the age gap and social scandal, reflects her desire for freedom and self-expression, a complex mix of strength and vulnerability. So Susan is presented as a multifaceted character. She is intelligent and witty, engaging Paul is stimulating conversations and challenging his youthful assumption. Then a victim of societal constraints. So Susan is not immune to the pressure of society, the stigma attached to her affair, and the judgment she faced from family and friends take a toll on her emotional well-being. This societal pressure, combined with her internal struggles, contribute to her descent into alcoholism and eventual decline. And an ambiguous and elusive figure. So Susan is initially portrayed as an enigma. We learn about her primarily through Paul's subjective and often conflicted memories. This ambiguity allows for multiple interpretations of her characters, prompting readers to question Paul's perspective and her motivations. Then Gordon MacLeod. So he is Susan's husband, and Gordon MacLeod plays a significant role in this story, and he is a crucial character in the only in this novel, who challenges our preconceived notions about marriage, masculinity, and the norms of human relationships. And other is John. Uh, she is a best friend of Susan, and she also play a very important role in this novel. John is an older woman, roughly the same age as Susan MacLeod, and a former tennis partner of Susan. So Martha and Clara. In this novel, these both characters are very important. Martha, known as Miss G, and she is described as the more reserved and serious of the two sisters. She appears to be critical of her mother's behavior and relationship with Paul, and Clara, known as Miss NC, and she is the more open and friendly of the sister compared to Martha. She takes a more neutral stance towards Paul and their mother's affair. Clara seems to understand the complexity of the situation and choose not to judge her mother harshly. While their roles are not central to the main plot, they add depth and a dimension to the story by providing different perspectives on the events and exploring the emotional ramifications of adultery and family affair on those who are most affected. So other is Anna. Anna appears later in Paul's life, and seemingly after his relationship with Susan. ends. She is described as a younger woman, unlike the older Susan, and represents a more conventional romantic partner for Paul. While Anna's role is minimal, her brief mention is impactful. Through her character, the novel explores the idea that life is filled with potential narrative. And other is Eric. So Eric is Paul's best friend, and mentioned at the beginning of the novel during their student days. Their relationship continues later in their lives, with Eric offering Paul support and confident role, especially during difficult moments with Susan. Eric is described as reliable, practical, and level-headed. Eric primarily functions as a counterpoint to Paul's emotional upheaval. Okay, so by reading the text, I have learned so many things through this novel, and here I try to put some learning outcomes. So, identifying comprehending the novel's themes such as love, loss, and the passage of time. So, here in this novel, we can understand the themes of love, loss, and the theme of memory. Readers can enhance their critical thinking skills by evaluating the characters' choices, actions, and the consequences of their decisions within the context of the story. So, in this novel, we can see that how these all characters are connected with each other. Engaging the characters' experiences, allowing readers to see the world from different perspectives and understand the impact of personal relationships. Analyzing different narrative voices within the novel helps reader understand how the author uses perspective and tone to convey the story. And developing skills in literary analysis involves examining the author's style, narrative techniques, and symbolism to discern the layers of meaning embedded in the novel. Okay, so for further discussion, I would like to call Nirali Dabhi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dapi Nirali, and today I am going to present a plot overview. The Only Story by Julian Barnes is a exploring of love, memory, and enduring impact on relationships. The narrative unfolds in three parts, and each capturing distinct stages of the unconventional relationship between Paul Robert and Susan MacLeod. The story opened in the England, the south of London. In the part one is a as a first narrative technique. The story begins in the leafy stubborn of Surrey, England, during the early 1916s. Paul Robert is 19 at the time. And undergraduated at the university and returning to his parents' home for the summers. Paul has learned to look down on the comfortable suburban conformity of his parents and their neighbors. The last thing he wants is a tennis wife. He becomes infatuated with Susan MacLeod. Troubled, she is a 14-year-old married woman and attractive but shy, troubled, and married. Their passionate love affair defines societal norms and revealing the complexities of their relationship. Paul is introduced to Susan's family and her forms as a tennis partner, John, setting the stage for a narrative that challenge conventional expectations. Paul meets their children, Martha and Clara. The Martha and Clara are are the children of Susan. In the part two is narrated in the first person and second person narrative. Paul and Susan move to London after Susan's leave her abusive husband, Gordon. Uh, Paul started studying law, hoping for a legal divorce, and however, Susan's escalating alcoholism and strains their relationship. Despite Paul's effort to curb her drinking and Susan's decline, leading to uh, the symptoms of the dementia. When their affair is discovered, they are expelled from the tennis club where they are both meet in the tennis club. Both are moved to London, and significance a turning point of this story, unrevealing the fabric of their once passionate connection. This chapter is all about Susan's madness. Paul's other girlfriend, Anna, she's the girlfriend after the relationship with Susan, and Anna's attitude towards Susan, and the Anna is the same age of Paul, but the relationship never satisfied Paul because of the relationship with the Susan. He moves back with Susan and takes on the work on caring for her. After some years, Susan's daughter Martha agrees agree to take over Susan's care, and after that, Paul's parents are outraged because of the relationship with the Paul and Susan. He returns to university, but Susan has become their center of his life. Their relationship undermines his studies and his social life. But although Paul realized that his love for Susan is taking a toll on his life, perhaps changing its course forever, and he cannot relinquish her. When Paul graduated, Susan leaves Gordon, and this part end with the line. But you begin to wonder, not for the first time in your life, if there is something to be said for feeling less. In the part three narrated as the second person narration. In the third part, the Paul evolved perspective of sex and highlighting the theme of memory. Paul become a office manager at the settles of the rural village, and establishing the Frogworth Valley artisanal in the cheese company. As the drinking gets worse, it causes Susan to suffer dementia like symptoms of paranoia and mood swings and forgetfulness. He never has another serious after the and with the relationship with the Susan. He never has another serious relationship or child with anyone else. Describing himself Paul describing himself as an absolutist for love, and Paul also devotes himself to the memory of his relationship with the Susan. Uh, Yet gradually, he forgets the body he once fetishized. Things once gone can't be put back. He knows that now a punch once delivered can't be withdrawn, and words once spoke can't be unsaid. We may go on as if nothing has been lost, nothing done, nothing said. We claim to forget it all, but our innermost core doesn't forget, because we have been changed forever. Most of the things belong to Paul's diary entire. The whole narrator Paul said the story from the whole diary of him. This last part is open about every character, like what might happen with other characters, like Gordon, and he's in this part he's died. Ending part is very interesting. Here is the hidden mystery unfolded by the narrator, and we came to know what had happened with Susan and the condition of Paul. The learning outcome after the reading of and learning the story and understanding what is the story. The whole story is based on the age different in the love in relationship of Susan and Paul. Understand and explain the significance of the novel's three parts and structure and how it contributes to the overall storyline. This is the example of Bollywood uh, uh, Sushmita Sen and Rohman Shawl. They have this kind of relationship with each other, and the Sushmita Sen have also two daughter, and she is the uh, she is for the further discussion. I would like to call Kanchan Khatri.
Hello everyone, my name is Katriya Gansham and I will deal with the topic of thematic study and research articles. So the first theme is love, loss, and self-delusion. So this is the quote from the novel, and it says that I quote: "In love, everything is both true and false. It's the one subject on which it's impossible to say anything absurd." I unquote. This novel deals with the theme of love and loss and self delusion. The protagonist Paul is a 19-year-old university student, and Susan, a 48-year-old married woman and a mother of two children. And their love was, by its very nature, disruptive, cataclysmic. But then, if it were not, it may not have been love. Would it have? So here, it is very obscure kind of a love story, and it is. It also affects the protagonist and narrator of the novel Paul, as it also complicates his life, his university life, and also with relations with society and family and the things. The only story explores themes of love and loss and self delusion. It also paints a portrait of a generation, Barnes Owen, whose ideals have floundered over the course of the 20th and early 21st century. The novel was generally well received by critics, who found it as a somber but well conceived character study. The other theme is pain and fulfillment, and the story examination of the various contradiction and challenges inherent within the concept of love. The narrative seeks to utilize Paul and Susan's relationship as demonstrating how fulfillment and suffering are not only inevitable in a romantic relationship, but are also often simultaneously phenomena. The narrative first introduces this idea by the opening of the novel. It says that I quote, "Would you rather love the more and suffer the more, or love the less and suffer the less?" Unquote. This way, the narrative immediately draws a thematic connection between fulfillment and suffering that underlies the story of Susan and Paul's relationship. At first, the narrative highlights the passion and complete fulfillment that Paul experienced in the early stage of the relationship. I quote, "I was 19 and I knew that love was incorruptible, proof against time and tarnish." I unquote. The first when the protagonist is young in the younger age, his perception of love was this, that the love was incorruptible and proof against time and tarnish, and he also tried to stick with his idols as he till the old age. He tried to fulfill his idol of love by committing only to Susan with sometime he is also turning away from his ideology, but at the end he stick to be alone and in memory of Susan. Then the theme of memory, as it is a memory novel, and it is wholly about the memory of his the old man of about his life and his love story. The part three is fictional construction of narrative's past life by the help of his memory. Paul in part three reconstructs his memory through his imagination. So here is also his type of unreliable narrator type of this. We can find this trace that uh, he's uh, his memory is playing the important part here, as he is relying on his memory, and this enables him to transfigure his memory into what he desired to have. So he's relying on the only story. He is thinking that this story is important to him, and this is the only story that he wants to tell, and that's why he is sublining all the other important events or things, and focusing on his only one story about his and Susan's relationship. So he is also making it obvious that he is type more like unreliable, and giving more important to one event rather than telling his whole story. And he is trying to remember Susan as in Susan's happy time, as he is saying that Susanna happy, Susanna optimistic. Then some research article. This is the book review of the only story by Kate Clancy in The Guardian. She says that Julian Barr's latest novel is narrated by an older man puzzling over the meaning of existence, and comparing with Barnes' other work. She is saying that each also has a similarly melancholy, intimate tone, a fine line in rhyme, rhythmic, elegant, understated prose, and plenty to say about time, love, and the simplerly nature of memory. And she says that the only story come from its psychological acuity, especially about how we remember. In Paul's narrative, experiences deconstruct themselves and personalities decay in a devastating, convincing way. In this is the main point that we can understand, that at the beginning he is more driven by his idols, and the characters, everything seems fine, and then later in the till the last part, we can say that it comes to a decade as we find truly the whole character how they develops. Then this article is the not only story, narrative, memory, and self-becoming in Julian Barr's novel. This is by Dinah Melnick, and the oral paper it says that the present paper shifts the focus from the story of love to the manner in which this story is remembered by the narrator Paul. So it is dealing with memory and narrative and self-becoming of this novel using Paul's Rickard's work on the narrative self. This paper draws on details of the novel and its subject in particular to suggest that the protagonist does not deliver or even wish to deliver an current account of the events that shaping his life, but rather he attempts to come to terms with the latter through storytelling. So he is only focusing on this his for him this is the main aspect or the event of his life. For Paul, this is the only story, not because it grabs entirely the lives of its protagonists, who could undoubtedly tell other stories, but because it is the only one that matters to him. So we can find this here, that this is the only story he wants to tell, that is very important to him. Then this other article is from Arshad Nawaz. It's about postmodern absurdist critique of Julian Barnes' The Only Story. And this article says about finds absurdism in this novel. Barnes is completely mindful of the plight of men who are living in the contemporary society, lost to values, higher ideals, and even God, not discovering sustenance in time-worn convictions and customary feelings. So here the protagonist is also this type of man who is who with values and higher ideals is at the end lost in his melancholy and memory, and he is alone at the and the last. The only story happens in the 50s, 60s, and 70s at the core of the sexual revolution, when profound desire and enthusiastic delicacy was turned into the request for the day and ultimately led towards absurdism of life. And for the modern man, the consciousness of absurdism develops a sense of isolation and terror. In Barnes' point of view, everything is destined to an end, and all endeavors planned for keeping up what is known and natural are insignificant. Then learning outcome. So through this novel, my learning outcome is to explore complex themes such as love and age gap, as it is very obscure to find in our present environment. In here in if we are we have exposure to Western films and television, then we can find it easy to connect, as there are this type of themes has been explored. Such a movie by uh, of the reader, and more like that type of movies we can find that type of theme. But if we try to look at this in Indian context, then this type of themes is very less explored or sublime, like in these movies like Dil Chahta Hai or Darlings or this type of. And if it is explored like this serial Aap Kya Jaane Se, then uh, it will be like a more dramatized or removed from reality, or for mere entertainment, that we cannot find any reality in it. But if we have this kind of exposure, then we can connect with it, or we can understand with the time and context also. Then this is the references. Thank you.